It feels like you're in this never-ending cycle of doom where you don't actually ever truly get better. There's glimpses of getting better. There's glimpses of hope. There are windows where you feel normal, but truly you never feel completely normal because there's always some kind of symptom or discomfort. Maybe you're even at a place where you're semi-functional or functional, where you can go outside, you can work, you can travel, but you're feeling symptoms 24/7. How's it going, Thrivers? Miguel here from CFS Recovery, taking you outdoors today on a little walk here, walking by the dike. Actually, this is one of the first places I went to when I got out of the hospital. And it was actually around this time, about 7 years ago, a day after my 23rd birthday. I was released from the hospital, and basically I got granted a new lease on life. And that's where my 2.0 life began, once I figured out how to recover from this stuff. But today I want to talk more about something around mindset. More specifically, it's this whole mentality of it's too good to be true. And this mentality typically comes up when you've been dealing with for a while, or long COVID, fibromyalgia, chronic illness you've been dealing with. If the hypersensitive nervous system is the issue, and you know it's the issue if you've had all your tests and scans done and the doctors haven't found anything that explains what's going on, it's typically a hypersensitive nervous system. Essentially, your body is just extremely sensitive to any kind of stimulus. And any kind of stimulus actually can cause physical symptoms in your body. And so you've been dealing with this for quite a while. And every time you take 2 steps forward, it feels like you go 3 steps back, or you take 3 steps forward and you go 3 steps back. It feels like you're in this never-ending cycle of doom where you don't actually ever truly get better. There's glimpses of getting better. There's glimpses of hope. There are windows where you feel normal, but truly you never feel completely normal because there's always some kind of symptom or discomfort. Maybe you're even at a place where you're semi-functional or functional, where you can go outside, you can work, you can travel, but you're feeling symptoms 24/7. And you can start to adopt this mindset that you're never truly going to overcome this thing, and you're probably going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. At least according to Google and what a lot of the medical system says, that seems to be the idea. However, what we're finding now is recovery is absolutely possible, and you could totally get your life back after dealing with this stuff. And so there's this mentality. The reason I want to talk about this today, this is a real life scenario. It's not just myself who dealt with it, but let me actually pull up a screenshot I took of somebody in our recovery academy. And so this lady, she was very debilitated. She was pretty much bedbound when we started with her. And then she got going. She started getting better and better. And then during Christmas, she was actually able to go outside after being locked up in her room. I can't remember how long. It was a long time. And she could not leave her room. She literally could not leave her room. But she was able to walk 1.5 hours, go to a children's museum, go to an ice cream shop, go to a costume shop, go to a toy store, and walk 50 minutes. And she said this would not have been possible without Krista Taylor, which is one of our awesome coaches. But there's something in this where she mentioned something, and I really wanted to talk about it today. She said, this is too good to be true. And at the end, she finishes with, because she made so much progress, she wrote at the end, my brain is having a difficult time updating to my current reality and processing how my capacity literally exploded after starting to work with her. That is what I want to talk about. Feeling that it's almost too good to be true, because chances are, if you tried to recover in the past and you try these different methods, you probably made some progress. The problem is, every time you made progress in the past, it was canceled out by something. Or like I said earlier, you take 2 steps forward and go 2 steps back. There's never any solid traction. And you start to think, oh, this time's gonna be like last time. You start to hope for the best, but expect things not to really last that long. You start to get windows of clarity and feeling normal, but then you tell yourself on the inside, let me enjoy this while it lasts. And it doesn't have to be that way. Once you learn the recovery principles, so the stuff I teach on this channel, the things in the Recovery Science Blueprint, the stuff in the Recovery Foundations Masterclass, which you can click up here to get free access to that, you are now equipped with tools to not only gain this traction, but sustain this momentum. Because it's not about just learning to cope with symptoms for the rest of life. You want to get out of this thing for good. You want to move on with your life want to close the chapter on CFS or long COVID and be able to live like a normal person, your brain just may not be accustomed to all the progress you're making. Once you start seeing the changes, it can actually be a little bit startling. You may not be used to all these changes at once. It's kind of like someone who's never ridden a car, really fast, or maybe they've never been in a car before. It can be startling to go at a certain speed for the first time in a long time, or ever, are starting to make progress. And it's happening so fast, it feels almost too good to be true. Just know it's not too good to be true because you're just not used to progressing at this rate. And the most important thing here is as long as you know exactly why you're progressing, it'll be sustainable. Because the reason a lot of people overdo it and tend to make a ton of progress but then go backwards is because they don't understand how they're making the progress, or two, they can be a bit negligent. So it's like exercising, right? If you exercise a lot, you have to take time off for your body to recover. If you go do a hard workout, you have to take a rest day the next day or for 2 days or 3 days. That's how you're going to make progress. But if you start to work out day after day after day without giving your body time to rest, yeah, you're going to make progress, but there's going to be some kind of sticking point because you might be doing a little too much too soon. You're doing too much activity in a condensed period of time. So that's why it's so important to understand the frameworks of recovery and not just kind of wing it and hope that the progress lasts. There are people who have done that where they kind of got lucky and just recovered and they never got sick again. It does happen to some people. But there's also a lot of other people out there, they feel like they recovered, but then they relapse because they didn't know exactly why they recovered. So once you understand the principles of recovery, that no longer becomes an issue because frameworks are frameworks. It's a duplicatable process, right? And you could repeat it. You could do it over and over again. It doesn't come down to luck. It's not just a matter of waiting it out. You can do certain things. It's like math. It's a formula. 1 + 1 = 2. It's always going to be 2. So you do X, Y, Z, you're going to get the results of recovery. And so this whole it's too good to be true thinking, just understand that it's very common, very normal at first. But once you start to see the progress happening over and over again, and you start noticing patterns in what you're doing and the results you're getting, that feeling starts to go away. And so, you just want to keep on going, keep that momentum up. It's totally fine to have that strange feeling of things are happening too fast, there's too much progress. Pretty scary at first, because obviously you don't want to get your hopes up and have it all come crashing down because as we know, that's probably happened many times before where you thought you were on the right track, but it ended up all just crashing down and you got your hopes up and you were extra disappointed when things didn't work out. Just know if you have a framework to rely on, then that's something you can count on. It's never too good to be true. Recovery is possible, and that is a trap in your mind. I call it a mind trap. That is one of those things that your brain tells you to try to keep you stuck in survival mode. Do anything it can to keep you stuck in survival mode because it's trying to do that to protect you. It thinks there's danger out there. It doesn't want you to expose yourself to more stimulus than it has already experienced in the past, because the last time you exposed it to a lot of stimulus, things did not turn out too well. It got too stressed out, and then you maxed out your stress threshold. Whether it was your doing or maybe you just got sick, got COVID or something, anything to maximize the stress threshold, it sees that as a threat. And so that's why it's giving you these symptoms, but not just symptoms, these thoughts as well. Intrusive thoughts, worrying thoughts, anxiety. These are very common things that your brain will try to do in order to keep you stuck in survival mode. But once you can start to recognize that, it is possible to recover, it is possible to make this kind of progress and sustain it and only speed it up, you'll be good. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't joined the Recovery Foundation's Masterclass, click the link somewhere up here and you can get free access to those recovery frameworks. I put it together and I've designed it in a way that makes it a lot easier to implement than just following all these hundreds of YouTube videos on my channel. If you guys enjoy the sunset, you guys can take a look and we'll see you guys in the next video.
I'd say that CFS recovery is absolutely the real deal.
I actually felt like somebody had an answer, like somebody explained what was going on and it all clicked.